Hey, good afternoon. This is Meredith Lego, and I am doing a whole web series on Ascension science and the basically the mechanics of how we expand consciousness over time. And today's video, I'm going to be talking about a subject that I actually introduced probably several months ago around basically a seed cell. So in the very original cell that basically takes root as you are developing in the mother's womb. And it basically carries a lot of information codes, obviously from the chromosomes of the parents that start the development of the fetus, I guess you could say, or the physical body within the body. But I ended up doing a little bit more exploration by working with basically a collective consciousness that I'm able to basically tune into when I meditate to better understand basically how essentially we can continue to sort of end cycles, if you will, of repeating patterns that sometimes get passed down the ancestral line from our parents and grandparents and stuff like that by doing some work specifically related to this seed cell or this original cell. And so I would highly recommend, if you're new to this channel, to actually go back to videos, and I'll post in the comments section, that talk about this cell and how it is that consciousness and essentially the original kind of soul energy sort of kind of comes into the manifestation within the physical body, and how it does it within this original cell. Essentially the cell has an etheric blueprint, if you will, that is almost sort of replicating the cell. It's obviously something you can't see because it's more of an energetic blueprint, but it also contains the quote unquote instruction sets that are going to help inform the energetic body as well. So basically I was more interested in better understanding this cell, and again how it sort of relates to the ancestral stuff that we take on. And so in this particular channeling session that I did with this collective consciousness, I asked in this session, how is eliminating the ancestral seed cell a way to end reincarnation on Earth? And the reason I asked this question is that from the previous channelings that I did, I actually posted in the past a video series called How to Stop Reincarnating on Earth, because that's essentially, they were teaching about really how the kind of the consciousness body sort of connects into the human physical body, if you will. But through that process, they also shared about how it is that you could sort of end sort of the linkage of the reincarnational cycle, specifically in the earth, in earth, I guess you could say, as a repeating pattern. And essentially there was a 3-part video series that I did on that because I wanted to explore that a little bit more. But here I was asking, how is the elimination of the ancestral seed cell a way to end reincarnation on Earth? So they answered that the seed cell holds the genetic history and records of past lineages. Often souls can incarnate in similar family lines as the energy pattern frequencies match the etheric blueprint signature, and cause-effect energies can be balanced. So in other words, what I interpret from that particular statement is that one statement was that souls will essentially continue to reincarnate back into the same family genetic line, because there's something about the energy frequency, so that kind of harmonic frequency pattern that actually matches the etheric blueprint pattern, that essentially is almost the etheric double of the physical body DNA, if you will. What they also implied is that the sort of energetic cause effect pattern can essentially be balanced. So let's say historically you've incarnated into somebody, into your family, like many generations ago. there was sort of experiences that played out that created sort of it could be, good energy or bad energy between two of the individuals, and it hasn't been neutralized within either. They might have had some hurt feelings that went on and never really got cleared or discussed. That creates sort of an energetic, cause that eventually has to essentially experience sort of an effect and be balanced out at a future time. So they say that when a being does the inner work to heal into the past by observing a trigger or a trauma, witnessing it, healing the memory or the root cause, and developing a new outcome of forgiveness, the being generates a new timeline. Not only are energies released from entanglement with the other beings in those original situations, but the emotional blockages and mental looping no longer weigh down the being. And that's where every time that you're kind of constantly stewing on events that go on in your life, and you keep thinking about them, and you're annoyed around something, and you don't say anything or you don't do anything about it, that energy is going to keep building up inside of your emotional body and eventually affect your physical body. At the same time, you might have looping thoughts about the situation because you're mad or whatever, and that starts to quote unquote weigh you down. Literally, you've got energetic sludge that's weighing you down. And that's why oftentimes when you finally take the action or the will to do something about it, you often feel like a huge weight has been lifted off your shoulders, and you feel a lot lighter because you've released that trapped energy. So as a result, new timelines form due to new frequency patterns. The cell, so that seed cell, releases at the point when all of the blockages, embedded deep unconscious blockages and waste, have been cleared and released. So that's really key, because it's literally, you have literally wiped out all of those blockages. You've cleared them out. You've cleared out the ones that have, let's say, happened within the family line, so the ancestral line. You've cleared out the ones that you might have created in your own life, and you've dealt with your own stuff. And you've really worked on kind of unrooting the sort of triggers and traumas that might be deep within your unconscious, and you don't know about them, but somehow over time they start to kind of rise or creep to the surface. And then that waste, that kind of energetic kind of waste, has been cleared and released. And kind of just an example of sort of a deep-seated unconscious blockage could be the feeling of, I don't know, like one that I'm working on releasing is the feeling of Armageddon, if you will. So the idea that the world's going to end, or something bad is going to happen, because I know I've been through that before as a soul. So I was in a situation where some bad things did happen on the planet, where there was kind of major catastrophic events that happened to the planet. I experienced that. So I've uncovered it, I've rooted it out. I know why I had sometimes feelings about that fear, and I had no idea why they were going on. But that was essentially it. So now I've cleared that, right? So then the second question that I asked is this cell, so the seed cell, is the cell like a quote unquote chain holding you into an incarnating pattern? They answered no, the cell is not a chain. The reincarnating pattern is generated by the cause and effect forces. So that energetic force, so it's kind of like for every action there is an equal opposite reaction, which must occur. Oh, there we go. So for every action, emotion, intention, there is an equal opposite reaction. It works no other way. The time-space gap between the root or the seed event and the resulting reaction might be delayed by years, generations, or multiple lifetimes, but it does occur. This is why it's difficult for beings to consciously connect the dots on the effects of seed causes for energy exchanges, especially a thought or an intention. They don't see the connection between the cause and the effect because so much quote unquote time has passed in between. So let me pause right there. So for example, and this gets into sort of the laws of nature, like the forces of nature or the laws of nature. So there are certain laws of nature. So the idea of physics, if you kind of, there, for every opposite, there's going to be an equal and opposite sort of reaction. Another law of nature might be the law of gravity. Okay, so it's very easy for you to comprehend the law of gravity because when you drop something, you see the effect of the law of gravity like right after you drop it. Like you connect the dots between that and you tie it to the natural law of gravity. But because the cause and effect pattern going on with what was talked about in this paragraph is more energetic, you can't see sort of gravity weighing it down, but you see you can't see the forces of gravity, but you see like the object and the implications of the forces on the object. But if there's like I do something negative to a person, and I do it physically, I'll be more able to likely see the negative or kind of the circling back of that energy immediately. So let's just say two guys get into a fight. One punches another. The other is could punch back. They could take a different choice, but they could punch back, and you see that physical exchange of energy playing out. But let's say you have a thought. So you don't necessarily take a physical manifestation of that thought, but you have a thought. It still has a certain vibrational frequency to it. It's going to go out, and eventually there will sort of be an energetic cycling back. Now, what they're saying is that cycling back could take years. It could take lifetimes. And that's why we don't necessarily connect the dots between the time that we had the thought and something that circles back to us. So I think that's why oftentimes, you hear the general lesson, just be mindful of your thoughts. So even though you're not necessarily doing physical harm, you're still creating an energetic vibrational frequency that will essentially circle back as well. So then they also say that another reason it is hard to release the seed ancestral cell is so much fear through manipulation and control that has been seeded on your planet by forces. So humans have given away much of their power of thought and emotion to others. The opportunity now is to take back your power and listen to your inner truth, despite how much pain you perceive it may cause. Pain perceptions are only beliefs designed to generate fear or the feeling of unworthiness or victimization in the mind of the ego, personality complex. This is why it's so important to let go and always listen to your feelings and intentions, which are your higher self. They are meant to pull you on the optimal timeline for evolution. And then I said thank you, because that was pretty much all that was passed on in that message. So I think the most important thing here again is just kind of understanding. I again go back to some of those previous videos that I did on how to stop reincarnating on Earth, because there was lots of great teachings about that. It still goes back to the concept of really work on healing, listening to those triggers and traumas and essentially working on healing them. By doing that, you're starting to release sort of energy sludge, so to speak, within your body. And you essentially can create new timelines for yourself by doing that. And in addition to that, again, the same message, which is focusing on listening to your feelings, because they really do work to serve you the best. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and your weekend. And I will see you in future videos continuing to talk about Ascension science. And if you like this video I encourage you to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, I would encourage you to subscribe. Thanks very much. Bye.